Hello, everyone. My guest today is Steve Pockross. He's building a great company. It's marketplace plus SaaS for content creation. It's called verblio.com. He brings more than 25 years of experience to startup, Fortune 500, and nonprofit to his role, years of experience there, to his role at Verblio. He previously served as VP of Business Development and Strategy for a marketplace plus SaaS pioneer called Live Ops, as well as leadership roles at Tendra, Western Union, and HSBC. He received his MBA from Kellogg and has an MA from Wesleyan University. Steve, you ready to take us to the top?
Ready.
All right. So Live Ops, OG SaaS plus marketplace stuff happening here. What's Verblio working on?
Verblio is working a lot. We're riding a pretty big content wave as it becomes a more and more powerful tool for marketing. And I think we're going to create 80,000 pieces of unique content this year with 3,000 writers working on our SaaS platform. And we keep trying to focus on our mission, which is high quality content at scale for every niche.
That's interesting. Okay, so you think we'll do 3K writers on the platform this year who put together 80K pieces. What were those same numbers for last year?
So the same numbers for last year were around 60,000 pieces of content.
And how many writers?
So about the same. We actually, it's interesting. We're actually going down in writers. Part of my fine-tuning philosophy of how to get more out of your marketplace is to actually use the right size pool. So we started the company with 10,000. We're down to 3,000, and I hope to be using 1,000 active writers by the end because I think it's the right balance of getting the power of scalability and quality, or scalability out of your marketplace without sacrificing quality.
Of course. Now, I imagine a key measure that you measure is on average, what is the writer going to earn on Verblio? What is that?
We do, we don't as much as you think. And it's because every writer comes with a very different goal. Some of them are looking for full-time work. We actually had our first writer make $100,000 last year on the Verblio platform, which I'm
nice.
Incredibly proud of. And then we have some that are working for side money, that are just doing their side hustle. And their goal is probably $5,000 to $10,000 a year. And that's probably our average writer.
So how much total did you pay out in 2020 to writers?
So we paid about half of what we paid out, a flat half. So Our company brought in $6 million or $6.1 million last year. And so $3 million went to freelancers.
And does that work at scale? Can you keep taking 50% there? If you put 10 million through the platform, you'll pay out 5?
Completely. Scale. It is built to scale.
Okay. So it's scaling. But less writers. So higher quality, more pieces of content means each writer's average income via Verblio should increase if you keep up with that trend.
Exactly. And the amount of pieces that they write for every client, so they get better at their work. And that's how we see it. The more they get paid, the more quality our clients get. And it's a beautiful, virtuous cycle.
And so why a business that's coming in and they're looking for, scaling their content creation, it makes sense why they want to use a marketplace. They don't have a fixed expense writer, full-time salary on their balance sheet and P&L. But why your marketplace over another marketplace? There's a lot of writing marketplaces. Why do they pick you?
There are. So we put a lot in. So our goal is to be the premium marketplace in the business for content creation. And we look at the business in some pretty distinct ways. We have really focused on what I was just talking about, quality, is we look at that level of how do you get more quality out of your marketplace at multiple levels. So some of that is just how do you get your writers more excited? More engaged. The more engaged the writer is, the better that they're going to perform. And some of it is the selection process for how they get matched to clients. And some of it is our content creation platform, which we try to make as friendly as possible, because as much as the writing quality is really important, content creation is messy. It takes a lot of co-creation and back and forth. So we have a client doing 1,200 unique pieces of content per month on our platform. Wow. They need to give edits on every single one of them, send them to different subscriptions that they have within their profile, and make sure all of that gets out on time. And so I don't want to downplay the importance of technology in this whole marketplace system.
Has that customer tried to acquire the whole business?
Not yet, but maybe I'll ask.
Interesting. Okay. And how many businesses put at least, call it, or actually today, right? How many customers do you have, businesses putting at least one piece of content to your platform per month?
1,030.
1/3. Okay, got it. So about the same number, actually, as we last spoke about a year ago. You had about 1,002.
That's about right.
Okay, interesting. And there are customers that also churn, right? So the ones that churn, what content strategy were they trying to execute that just didn't work with an outsourced writing team?
So Yeah, there's two different buckets. So the reason that we've grown so much, so we grow 30% last year in a down economy. I think the last talk to you in April when things were not looking quite that bright. So I'm glad to come back to that story with a better tale. And the ones that, so they were all replaced with much larger. We've been focusing on moving up market and work with much larger clientele. So our average customer now spends $800 a month. And versus, I think last time we talked to you was clearly must have been a third less.
500, yeah.
And so that's been a big difference in our business. The churn on those accounts that are basically, we consider enterprise $1,000 and above, churn at 2% per month. Our largest, I don't know how many, I think we're somewhere between 5 to 7 clients at 20,000 a month. Those don't churn. They have 0%. Yeah. And then the lower marketplace that you brought up the question for, they churn around 8 to 9% now. It's really gone down from, I think, 10 to 12 last time I talked to you. Mm-hmm. And it's a different business. It's a subscription month to month. There's no long term. Some people have short term needs for, so there's a variety of reasons. One is the clients could have a short term need for content. They could see it for a few months. Another is they could have not done it before. A lot of them are agencies that went in for one client and their contract went away. And some of them we might not be a good fit for. And I don't know why, but I think they should try again.
And so what does that mean in terms of MRR? 10, 20 customers, $800 a pop. You're doing what, 800 grand a month in revenue these days?
Yeah, we're crossing 750 and we should be at 830, 840 within the next 2 months.
That's great. And then, during COVID. So at the beginning of COVID, when we chatted, I think you said you're at like a 6 million run rate. So you finished last year at somewhere around like a 8 million run rate. Is that right?
So we finished with 6 million in revenue and a run rate of around 7+, and we've had a pretty big growth first 4 months of the year.
Yeah, interesting. Where's that growth coming from?
The growth is coming from large customers that are looking at content at scale. They really have a need to do, well, they're thinking of content as competitive advantage. What I mean by that jargon is that a lot of them are building their businesses based on content. So the first wave, when we first talked a couple years ago, it was small businesses trying to keep 5 blogs afloat. Wave 2 was digital agencies that went up market. We were solving a big pain point for them of how do you manage content, do it by vertical, do it at scale. And this next wave is really coming from really large clients that are thinking, how do you build the business if you have a company like Verblio powering you, where you can do quality content at scale for any niche, which is it's kind of the fuel of the modern marketing engines. And a lot of people are thinking more creatively about how to use it.
Now, have you changed your team dynamic at all? Last time I spoke to you, 22 people or 20 or 17 people, I believe. How many people today?
Yeah, we're 31 now, and we have 7 open recs, and we should end the year at 40. We're on. We've done a lot.
What are they doing? What are you hiring for? Salespeople? What, engineers?
It is super balanced across the company. So because we're bootstrapped, as you know, which is one of your favorite topics, and
we love it
as well, is that the dynamic is you invest behind the curve. You invest 6 months after you really needed that person. And so we basically are adding incrementally to all parts of the business as we need them.
So probably our biggest lift is,
say again?
How many engineers today?
We have 7 engineers today.
Oh, wow. Okay. And any sales reps that carry quota?
We have our first 3. Well, we had 1 sales rep for 4 years, and now we have 3, and our first executive VP of sales.
That's a big hire.
Yeah. So most of our focus is on driving marketing, brand, driving SEO, and living the content dream of if you build it, people will come to you.
Mm-hmm. How are you? I mean, it's interesting to ask a content guy how he's thinking about SEO. Are you thinking about SEO from a content perspective, or like programmatic SEO, where you're sort of auto-launching pages, comparison pages, things like that?
It's interesting. So our next big phase will be productizing content.
Yeah.
So moving a lot more into the second part that you said. So far, we've really been following what the market demand is, knowing that we had something really valuable. And the next phase is, how do we take some of these ideas like SEO refreshes? How do you revamp pages at scale and turn those into products? There's a lot of them. Video falls into that bucket too, that we still have a lot of work to do to build out our video company that we bought a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about that video company.
So we bought a company called Automagical, which is very similar to I've been out of it for a while. So similar to other players in the market that are trying to take existing content and turning them into videos by using AI. The twist that we put on it is, I think that the main goal of of that video technology should be to dramatically reduce the cost of creating the video as opposed to fine-tuning the quality. So we then put our writers on, once the video comes, it has a great draft that the AI created. And I think that's about 50% there. And then we have our writers go in and finish the story to have a much higher level product at a lower cost.
Interesting. Very cool. Now, talking about capital needs, you have to correct me if I'm wrong here. Were you the founder of the company or did you come in after founding?
I was hired by the founders about 4.5 years ago.
Got it. And are the founders still active in the company or are they left?
They are both out of the company and they're both on the board.
So how do you guys think about, you don't need to think about this really because you're not raising capital, but if you were going to put a valuation on the company, how would you think about it?
Unfortunately, there's not as many comps as I would like in the space. I think marketplace and SaaS has really taken off, and I appreciate your support in fostering the terminology to get there. And so I think, there's a variety, like you have your marketplace options, like you've got your Upworks that they have their valuations, you have your SaaS companies, and then you have your services companies that are clearly much more towards the one-to-one revenue and nowhere near as high as the 5 to 10 to 15 of the rest of them. So I think it's still yet to be defined of how much value is here. And I think it's up to the industry to prove out what we can do that's different than anybody else and how it's a more powerful platform before we get there. So right now it's basically comps and conversations, but I hope it gets a lot more towards the 5+ than it does towards the 1.
If someone offered you guys $100 million today, about 11x multiple, do you take it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Direct answer. We like that on the show. Steve, on that note, let's wrap up with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
It's currently Alchemy, the dark art and curious science of creating magic in brands, business, and life by Rory Sutherland.
He was ready for that one. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
I love David Cancel. He was just on my podcast, and I find him deeply inspiring in the way he thinks about brand and the things about people and all of the intangibles that build a great business.
Well, hey, let's give your podcast some love here. Why, as a SaaS plus marketplace brand, why'd you launch a podcast and what's it called?
The podcast is called Yes and Marketing, based on the improv idea that great marketing ideas can come from anywhere, and there are no best practices in marketing. So I talk to inspired leaders and inspired marketers with the idea of we're going to learn from any of them, with the idea of like the focus of our company is really a lot more on building new marketing capability than it is on, the basic idea of delivering a service.
And people can find that on iTunes, I assume?
Please, everywhere. I hope you like it.
Say it again, the title.
Yes and Marketing.
Yes and Marketing. Very cool. Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building verblio?
I know this is boring, but I'm going to say Slack. And Slack because, God, it's so fundamental to how we created a great remote culture during this meantime. Everyone's on all times of day, on all sorts of channels, just creating water cooler talk in a way that would have never been possible before. Mm-hmm. So I think about it much more from cultural than I do from process-driven kind of productivity.
Yep. Number 4, how many hours of sleep are you getting every night?
Oh, man. Last year, I aim for 6 to 8, but coronavirus has not been very helpful. I have the whole coronasomnia thing that I know many of us are suffering through.
Yeah. Number 4, our situation, married, single, kiddos?
Married, 2 kids, 10 and 13 boys, living in Colorado, gives lots of outdoor time and fun things to do.
Boulder, Colorado. How old are you, Steve?
I am 48.
48. Last question. What's something you wish you knew when you were 20?
Every step along, I was thinking about my career, every step along the way that I did something that I thought would be good for my resume versus what I wanted to do was a mistake. So I worked for large companies, 3 giant banks. All of them went terribly wrong. It's just not a cultural fit. So I wish I would do what I felt like doing, which I did most of my career and just all of my career.
Guys, big moments happening at Verblio. Even during COVID last year, they run a marketplace of writers. Their first writer earned more than $100,000, which is great. Over 3,000 writers on the platform will create about 80,000 pieces of content this year. That's coming from 10,020 businesses paying about $800 per month to use verblio.com. They just broke the $750,000 a month threshold, which is called an $8-9 million run rate. That's up about 30% year over year. They paid over 50% of that $9 million revenue to their writers, so call it 4.5 million, 5 million-ish. They're doing this all with a team of 31 out there in Boulder, Colorado. Steve, thanks for taking us to the top.
Nathan, great to see you again.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company, or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them, and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.